cycle, because they know that they're playing, even though their votes are the smallest out of all the opposition parties, there are some ridings where the 2,000 or 4,000 votes that go to the Green Party could swing an election for
My
either
riding.
Liberal or a New
My
Democrat.
riding is a perfect prime example of that.
Yeah,
I mean, well, my riding was decided by 18 votes.
14, I think, in the end.
Was it? Okay.
I think it was
in
14
the
after
teens,
the recount.
in the teens. It's nothing.
Mhm.
We had a really strong Green candidate too. Fantastic guy. If he wasn't in the Green Party, I'd vote for him.
So
You know,
the Liberals and New Democrats as parties, or not as parties, as individuals within those parties, need to start standing up at their riding association meetings and saying, look, we have to start looking at the Green Party's policies about the environment. We need to start looking at ideas like a carbon tax rather than a cap and trade.
Yeah.
Because you have to give those people a reason to switch their vote this time around.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I
because
mean?
because guess what? Yeah, I don't want to get too deeply into it, but Stéphane Dion took a carbon tax, a variation on the Greens carbon tax, but something pretty fucking close to the Greens carbon tax, and he ran on it. He ran an election for the Liberal Party on a carbon tax, and I liked that idea. That would have nicely slowed down Alberta's tar sands development. His thing was that carbon tax is going to be directly returned to people in Canada by reducing their income taxes. But Joe Hockey fan kept on thinking it's going to be harder. It's going to be more expensive to take.
It's
going to
make my gas expensive. They're
Yeah,
going to raise all the prices.
I'll tell you straight up that what most people watch in terms of politics, people that don't have any involvement in politics whatsoever, always watch gas prices. My local newspaper's website, they're always going off about gas
They
prices.
have a gas price meter going on?
Something like that, man. It's fucking ridiculous. It's just unbelievable to me, man.
Which always makes me think, it's one of those things that's fucking hilarious as far as, I picture most people have there's the standard motif of an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. I think it's more of like an anarchist on one shoulder and a cop on the other shoulder. and when they go to the gas pumps, the anarchist just fucking screams mad shit at them, like, fuck, we're getting screwed.
Yeah, man. That's when people connect to the idea that they're being screwed over somehow. It's always at the gas pumps. And then
unfortunately the policeman says,
it's like, don't you care how else you're getting screwed over? Don't you care that your children go to schools that are fucking programming them to be, mindless consumers? Don't you care about getting screwed over like that? Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you're getting screwed over, not just at the gas pumps there, Joe Hockey fan.
God forbid you mention these days with everything going on in Quebec, you mention tuition and things like that. And these are people with children. And it's like, so you would rather get upset at somebody saying that if we just didn't spend, maybe if we didn't go to Libya, maybe if we didn't buy F-35s, maybe we could actually have, maybe not free tuition, but a lot lower tuition across Canada, and the bile and the red face that comes onto people when you say this kind of thing. It's like, but you have 2 kids. Like, why are you so angry that we're saying that your kids should be able to have access to education without a debt?
Just
drags
because
them down through the rest of their life.
What freaks me out, Mike? Okay, and this could be a topic for a whole show, by the way. And I actually would like to formally suggest that we consider this. You know how the kids in Quebec are getting nicknamed the me generation, or the entitlement generation, or whatever, just because they don't want to see their tuition rates doubled. And then the people that have already gone through school are cursing them because you'll still have
your tuition rates are the lowest in Canada.
Yeah, they'll still be the lowest in Canada. Great, good for Quebec. I think that's one of the most fantastic things about Quebec. I think
that's what they're trying to say.
Is that they don't nail their students
low tuition rates.
Yeah, but the people that are cursing these kids for complaining about their tuition rates doubling have already taken benefit, from those low tuition rates when they went to school, and now they're accusing them of all this sense of false entitlement, and then the baby boomers now have just voted a government who's just made the retirement age 67 for poor people.
Hmm.
You know, but it's not going to start until after you're all dead and have already all the baby boomers have
You'll be
benefited.
dead before you won't have to
Yeah,
worry
don't
about
worry.
your
It's just the
kids.
next generation we're slaughtering, and you all vote, so we're not going to fuck with you. But
Right.
it's that generation that you all think that has the false sense of entitlement that now gets to retire at 67 because
It's a
you
pretty
nail.
big snub, really, when you look
Oh,
at it.
there's going to be a war of the generations in this country because unless kids start getting involved, and this is one of the reasons that I like Justin Trudeau getting in, because if there's anyone that's going to galvanize the young people in this country to stick up for themselves against a generation that nailed this country into debt and is now voting to further impoverish the people next in line, it's
Hmm.
going to be Justin Trudeau. You know what I mean? I will not know who to support between Justin Trudeau and Thomas Mulcair. I like them both. And
And
if
I
we
think that, honestly, as much as I have never really been a strategic voter, I think that's going to come down to where you live. It's going to come down to what riding you live in. And you're going to have to people are going to have to make smart choices. And there are places where if you're an NDP supporter, you're going to have to, swallow your pride and vote Liberal. And if you're a Liberal supporter, there's places where you're going to have to swallow your pride and vote NDP. And that's where we're at with this next election cycle, because it's very unlikely that these two parties are going to agree for any sort of joint nomination process.
yeah.
It's very unlikely. So the Canadian people need to become extremely responsible and think very wisely about their choice for which opposition party they're going to vote for. And like I say, I am a person who has actually actively argued against strategic voting in the past.
Yeah,
And
I've always been a strategic voter, but I still respect you for not being one. You know what I mean? Because I think you're.
I might be one now. At least this election cycle.
I think that unless we get a massive amount of people in this country looking at cooperation between the progressive parties, we are going to be cursed with another Stephen Harper government after this, and we as a country cannot afford this. I think it's time for Canadians to stop taking for granted the fantastic situation we have here. Like, our ancestors fought for a better system and a better, more just environment for us to live. In terms of the economy and the division of wealth and education and healthcare. These are all things that our parents and our grandparents fought for, and we're just kissing it all goodbye right now. And we seem to be just perfectly happy to do it. And you know what? I want to tell you something, man. The kind of person that I think is most dangerous in Canada right now is the kind of person who will put party loyalty before before the common good. Okay, the kind of person that says, "Well, I'm loyal to the NDP because the Liberals are just as bad as the Conservatives." That person is a dangerous person to me.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
person is
the kind of person who would vote for the devil even if the other party was running Jesus, just
Yeah.
to make it a Christian's type analogy.
yeah.
It's like
I don't worry about the HarperCons, man. I don't worry about conservatives. I mean, to me, okay, fine. I can't reach them. If you're voting for Stephen Harper, and if you've done that in the past, I know there's no way to reach you. You're a lost cause. I'm fine with that. Goodbye. Goodbye, 24% of adults. You know what I mean?
But what's curious though is that, like, the local Conservative candidate here in Simcoe North, he now talks about the Conservatives in the third person. He'll say things like, "The Conservatives don't like that." So he's kind of like separating himself from it.
What does
at
that
the same
mean? Yeah,
time.
okay. Well, what does that mean? So he's separating himself from it.
But at the same time, he's going to stand up every time that Bill C-38 goes through an amendment process. He's going to stand up and he's going to vote along with his Conservative caucus. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And yeah, so I don't know, man. It's I'm not saying that I have a lot of hope for a lot of these MPs. Maybe some of them, maybe we can convince some of them that, you know what, if you've been an MP for 2 or 3 times and you're at the pinnacle of your career and you're probably not looking at running too much more, why don't you run as an independent? Get out from under this conservative control and represent your constituents if you're going to get elected.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that, and I'm not saying that I think that's extremely likely either, because as soon as you remove a person from their party, they lose all that funding apparatus and everything else, right? Which the Conservatives are masterful at.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
We're not going to have any Conservatives going against the grain, man. Hoping for that, seems to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I went and attended the Vigil for Democracy in my community, where we asked our elected representative to vote against Bill C-38. It's an exercise, but I mean, it's almost absurd, because I know for a fact that gentleman has absolutely no part of his soul that even questions it. He doesn't. He like you said, there's an apparatus of rewards and like rewards versus punishments built into this system that keeps people in line. That guy understands that he's got her made in the shade right now, man. He's got a sweet deal. All he has to do is go along to get along. Why would he not do that? Right? Because here in Nipissing, we threw out a guy who was a fantastic person, and we replaced him with a Conservative who is going to go along to get along because it makes sense for him on a personal level in terms of the rewards he will receive for going along to do so. Right? So, I mean, if we as Canadians and people in Nipissing are content with that, great, cool. Well, we just got what we deserved. But I mean, I stood outside of his office with people. We lit candles. We put stickers on his window saying protect the environment and stuff like that. We did that shit. I was there. I went through the motions because you know what? What else are you gonna do?
It was necessary.
It's
really,
part of it.
Really was.
I mean, I'll do anything to stand up and express my opposition to this agenda, even if it seems fucking foolish.
Yeah.
I mean, anything. I will do anything. But I had no faith in that. So, I mean, I just have to point out that any talk of the idea of Conservatives themselves, no matter how much they disagree with their own party, I just think it's senseless to hope that they'll stand up. I think
it's very unlikely that any of them will break ranks until their party is shattered. You know what I mean? Like, the only chance that progressive Conservatives in that party will ever separate themselves from the Reform Party is only after Canadians have woke up and said, you know what? You guys don't get a majority. You guys don't get a minority. You guys get, just the seats in Alberta. And that's probably not exactly where Canada's at right now, and that's what we're running into with this next election cycle. We're looking at three parties that are going to be in contention, it looks like, and none of them, especially when we talk about the two opposition parties, neither of them are probably going to agree on a joint nomination process. And that brings us back to the points that we're making earlier. We need to be responsible as voters. We need to make choices. We need to realize that that individuals are different, and that they're not. You can't just say because a person is a politician, they're all bad. Make an educated choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a whole another ball of wax here, but I mean, there's ways that people that progressives can cooperate to unseat Conservatives that do not require the consent of the political parties themselves. Because one thing I do not like is the fact that people who, like I said, put their loyalty to parties first. They can do it for a variety of reasons. They could do it because they work for the party. They could do it because their granddaddy was a liberal. I'm going to be a liberal. My grandkids are going to be liberals. We're a liberal family, God damn it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, you can't reach those people either. Yeah. That's just because, it's just because of an identity factor, right? There's people that work for the party, and like they say, well, if all these parties cooperate and get together into one party, well, I mean, then they're afraid of that, because then that's a third of the jobs that are in politics that will be saved versus all of the rest of them will be lost, right? So yeah, I mean,
it's a shoddy approach to politics, though, when you go in without ever checking what you should do. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're an adamant supporter of a party, you should still probably take a second to stop and look around.